here on such an important day. Anytime we are talking about kids in this state, we know it's an important day, and I'm so glad we have our kids here from Colfax Elementary. Give me a shout out, guys. Because they provide a key visual reminder of why this is so important. When we look at our young children in our school systems throughout Colorado, we have to think about where they're going and how they are going to change the future of this state. And they are not going to be able to change it in the way we want them to change it if they are not successful readers, if they do not move through the school system, they move on to post-secondary institutions and find success. That's where we need to be focused, and that's what today, and that's what this Colorado Literacy Week is about. And I'm so proud to work with Governor Hickenlooper because he is someone who has demonstrated over the years, before he became governor, while he was mayor, how much he understood the value of providing quality early opportunities for children. It is not just about opportunities, of course, it's about outcomes. We want to make sure that kids not just have the opportunity, but do in fact become successful readers, successful students, successful graduates, and successful, ultimately, employees and members of our community. So thank you, Governor Hickenlooper, once again. We also have so many other partners in the P20 system, people who understand that we need to work together if we're, again, going to improve outcomes for young children. So we have the Education Leadership Council, of course the Colorado Department of Education, the Board of Education, Commissioner Robert Hammond, and many of the folks from the department who are with us today. We also have Anna Jo Haynes and Pat Hamill, chairs of the Early Childhood Leadership Commission, who bring together advocates for young children and remind us that while a P20 approach is important, a birth through 20 approach is much better. That's what's going to make a difference. I also want to thank the Pearson Foundation for the donation of more than 2,000 books during our Literacy Matters tour. As we were able to go around the state, we were actually able to leave something of value in the schools we visited. And that wouldn't have been possible without the Pearson Foundation. And I also want to thank two other really key partners. Peter Beaupre, who's the chair of the Mile High United Way Board of Directors. Mile High United Way, you'll hear more in a moment from their executive director, but they have been truly a key partner in this. And Barbara Grogan, my friend and colleague, who is a partner in just about everything we do around here. Thank you, Barbara. Let me tell you why this is so important to me. I had been, before I joined Governor Hickenlooper here in the State House, president in a couple of different institutions, Pikes Peak Community College, Colorado State University Pueblo. Both were institutions that served a lot of first-generation students, a lot of low-income students, a lot of students from communities of color, and importantly, a lot of students who frankly weren't well prepared to enter college. Students who arrived on our campuses with unlimited ambitions, but very limited resources, and sometimes limited preparation. And what I saw over and over again was these sometimes young, sometimes not so young students struggle to perform because they had not had the kind of education they needed from the time they were very young to the time they graduated. And we knew that those students who arrived and needed remediation, needed extra support, were far more likely to drop out, to leave college with no degree, perhaps only with significant debt and dashed dreams. That's what we need to change in this state, and that's what we are trying to do here, again, with all of your help. So I'm proud to talk today about the details of Colorado Reads, the Early Literacy Initiative, a thin document, but a document that contains so much important information about what we know we need to do as a state, much of which we've already started on. It incorporates, as the governor pointed out, relevant research in the areas of early childhood education. And when we traveled around the state on our Literacy Matters tour, we talked to families, we talked to school teachers, we talked to foundation members, community organization members, and asked them what was working in their community and what could we do to help. And they gave us a lot of advice about things we could do and things we frankly should not do. and we incorporated their comments, their input into this document. So this document lays out this blueprint, and it says, we know there are 5 things that really matter to early literacy success. First, we need to look at the health and development of our children in those critical 0 to 4 years. We know early learning program quality matters, that the training and the skills of the early childhood workforce matter, that access to high-quality preschool matters, and that access to full-day kindergarten really matters to long-term educational success. So again, this plan is not just a plan that's intended to clutter up our bookcases. This is a plan that says these are things we're going to do, and in fact, what's important is that there are things we have already started. For example, we've already been working with AmeriCorps. We have a $300,000 grant from them and another $150,000 from Target to create a Colorado Reading Corps based on the highly successful Minnesota Reading Corps. We've also been working with our business community. The governor mentioned EPIC executives partnering to invest in children, and the Junior League, they have agreed to call on our business leaders, bring them to action to mobilize at least 1,000 business leaders to get involved and take on early literacy. We're also working with our state libraries. I saw Sharon Moore earlier. I know we have other representatives from our state libraries to organize our Dream Big Summer Reading Program. We know that kids lose ground over the summer, and so we're going to challenge our Colorado children to read 1.25 million more pages than the 11 million they read last summer. And we want to, again, motivate kids to come to our libraries and learn to read. We also have, of course, Miles, Dinger, and Clifford who are helping us with this effort. The governor who's called for $7.7 million to support our education reform efforts already underway. We know that we need to make sure our teachers are well qualified and effective, and we know we need to develop and support those teachers to make sure, again, that every kid in every level, in every classroom in the state has an effective teacher leading that classroom. We've also been working together with Reach Out and Read Colorado in the Denver preschool program, and this week with Secretary Arnie Duncan, we announced One Book for Colorado, which will put 70,106 books, we counted the kids, in the hands of every 4-year-old in the state to inspire a love of reading. About what the state is doing. I have been talking about that, but it's also critically important to recognize what the state can't do, or at least what the state cannot do alone. What the state needs your help, your support, your collaboration in order for us to be successful, and there are so many things. Now first, our legislative priorities, as we look at what we can in fact do, we are creating an Office of Early Childhood, and we are co-locating many programs that currently reside in different departments around the state that serve children and families. They're saying we need to bring those programs together to make them more accessible, more coherent to the children and families who need them. We also are working with our legislators. There's some great legislative support here. In fact, as you look around, can I ask the members of the House and Senate to give us a wave? Because these are the folks. Not just by their presence here today, but what they have done throughout their legislative careers, that these are legislators who truly understand the needs of children and care about them and want to work with us to address them. So thank you, Senators, Representatives, I appreciate it. Now we're working on House Bill 1238, which strives to work locally to reinforce early literacy policy and education in kindergarten through the 3rd grade in a variety of ways. It will promote more frequent and early use of formative and criterion-based assessments to diagnose reading problems. It will provide for more immediate and responsive interventions to specific literacy deficiencies, and it will engage parents earlier. They'll be invited into the process earlier to assist with tailoring specific remedies to address student needs, and when necessary and appropriate, they will allow schools, as they are now allowed, to retain students. But I want to be clear, this is not a retention bill, this is an advancement bill. We want to make sure that every student has the support systems in place, has taken advantage of the assessments available, to make sure that every child, as they advance, has demonstrated proficiency and readiness for the next grade level. Now, where am I? I need to read better. Most of all, and this is important, now I'll wrap up, this Colorado Reads Early Literacy Initiative is a call to action to all of you. We recognize that parents and families are critical. We know that parents are the most important, they're not only the first, but the most important teachers their kids will ever have. Kids, how many of your parents care about your education? How many of your parents care about your education? You know that your parents are just as important, more important than your teachers. And you know that your parents want you to read and want you to be successful students. And I want you to read with your parents, to have not only your mom and dad read to you, but I want you to read to them, and I want you to read to your little brothers and sisters. Can you do that?
Yeah!
If they can do that, certainly we can help as well. We can make a difference if we pitch in, and if we say we want to make a difference, we know what needs to be better in this state.